السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سيداتي وسادتي الكرام، في البداية نود أن نرحب بالسادة رئيس وأعضاء مجلس إدارة بنك الدوحة والإدارة التنفيذية، كما نود أن نشكرهم على استضافتهم وتنظيمهم لهذه الندوة، ونرحب بجميع ضيوفنا وعملائنا في هذه الندوة، ونتمنى لهم ليلة مليئة بالمعرفة. Dear distinguished guests, we would like to welcome His Excellency the Chairman and the Board of Directors of Doha Bank, the Executive Management, and thank them all for hosting and organizing this seminar. يشرفنا في هذه الندوة سعادة الشيخ عبد الله بن سعود آل ثاني محافظ مصرف قطر المركزي. This seminar is graced by His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah bin Saud Al Thani, the Governor of Qatar Central Bank. The flowers. فلنحيي ضيف الشرف سعادة الشيخ عبد الله بن سعود آل ثاني. Let us applaud to the guest of honor, His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah. هذه الندوة تضم العديد من الخبرات من أنحاء العالم لكي يشاركونا خبراتهم وإنجازاتهم بتوجيه من الدكتور سيثرمان الرئيس التنفيذي لمجموعة بنك الدوحة. This knowledge sharing session has various well-known expertise from around the world came to share with us their knowledge and experiences. والآن سوف نقوم بتقديم نبذة عن رئيس الندوة الدكتور سيثرمان. يتمتع الدكتور سيثرمان بخبرة تزيد عن 3 عقود في المجال المصرفي، تكنولوجيا المعلومات والاستشارات. في شهر مايو 2012 قامت جامعة واشنطن بمنح دكتور سيثا درجة الدكتوراه الفخرية في القانون تقديراً لمساهمته القيمة والفريدة في المجتمع على الصعيد المصرفي وإدارة المعرفة والمسؤولية الاجتماعية للشركات والحوكمة. في شهر يونيو العام 2012 قامت الجامعة الأوروبية بدورها بمنحه درجة الدكتوراه الفخرية خلال تكريم له مقابل عطائه الرائع في مجالات الحوكمة العالمية والمسؤولية الاجتماعية. We would like to start introducing our mediator of this seminar. Dr. Sita Roman, Chief Executive Officer of Doha Bank, has more than 3 decades of experiences in banking, informational technology, and consultancy. In May 2012, he was endowed with the honorary degree Doctors on Law by Washington College for his unique and valuable contributions to the society in the fields of banking, knowledge management, corporate and social responsibilities, and governance. In June 2012, he was also endowed with the title Doctor of Honoris Causa from the European University for his unique and valuable contributions to the global governance and social responsibilities. Let us welcome Dr. Sita Rahman, Group Doha Bank. CEO Doha Bank.
Your Excellency, Sheikh Abdullah bin Saud Al Thani, Governor of the Central Bank of Qatar. Your Excellency, Sheikh Fahad bin Mohammed bin Jabir Al Thani, Chairman of Doha Bank. Mr. Yusuf Ubaidan, the Vice Chairman of Doha Bank. Your Excellency, Sheikh Abdurrahman bin Mohammed bin Jabir Al Thani, Managing Director of Doha Bank. Distinguished guests, dear friends, fellow speakers, from Wells Fargo, Latham, Watkins, and again, Access Insurance, Continental. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure and privilege for me to be an integral part of this interesting and exciting session. I would like to put you in perspective. It was on October 11, 2008, the Governor of the Central Bank and the Minister of Finance, His Excellency Yusuf Kamal, and myself, along with other fellow bankers from Qatar, we were sitting in the Qatari Ambassador to the United States, Mr. Hajri's residence, and we had a chat about the looming global crisis. Extraordinary tension all over the world after the collapse of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns. It was a changing time. Qatar, with its wisdom to recognize the public-private partnership model, clearly set in a very unique business model wherein government comes as a facilitator to see global consumer confidence is established. As local institutions, financially we are stable and functional. We organized a seminar in March 2009. His Excellency, the Governor of the Central Bank, was very much there. We're the first one to showcase the changes which are taking place in the world is good for real economies. We captioned this crisis is an opportunity for Qatar. That was in May 2009. The world was changing on account of globalization. The world was also changing on account of re-regulation. What was once described as deregulation was confined to re-regulation. That's precisely the reason Central Bank, in its vision, has brought in extraordinary governance to set in new discipline so that this economy is withering away the impact of the global financial crisis. And again, May 2010, His Excellency, Governor of the Central Bank, was here in the very same hall and showcased what sort of changes he brought in. One, to start with, the public-private partnership model. The government has announced and practiced 10 to 20% of the bank's capital is owned by the government. It doesn't mean entry into the management. It's only facilitation and real response to changing dynamics. When the stock market was crashing, almost 40% in the first quarter of 2009, we were completely in disarray in terms of the capital market. The financial institutions were set to absolute rescue by the government, and over 1.8 billion was pumped by the Qatar government, and it helped us to improve the risk, liquidity management, and also profitability. That was showcased. The governing evidence for us to see that real estate was an issue world over, and it was depleting every single part of the world. Qatar is not an exception. Our neighboring hood was facing extraordinary downturn. Qatar government, in its wisdom to bring in financial stability and also make sure Qatar real estate is stable and functional, they pumped $4.12 billion to make sure the bank's distressed assets in terms of real estates are put to rest. It improved the balance sheet profile, it improved the liquidity and profitability as well. That's not the end of it. Extraordinary regulation in terms of setting the right kind of overnight rate. That's what the governor did. Instead of banks sitting on huge pile of liquidity, he wants to make sure they support the economic momentum. He reduced the overnight rate to 0.75%. And again, the QCB repo rate, what you call interbank rate, we managed to articulate, bring it down in the last 2 years, 3 times, so that today it stands at very, very optimum price of 4.5%, and the pricing to a common man is confined to just maximum margin of 1.5%. The man in the main street in Qatar should be happy. That's the intention as such. Today, in terms of retail space, the maximum we can charge is 6%. That was a re-regulation, for an example for you. And again, when it comes to realignment, extraordinary decisions were taken. Unifying the regulators. We have Qatar Financial Center, Qatar Financial Market Authority, Qatar Central Bank, Qatar Exchange are all unified to promote and value-driven confinement for Vision 2030 under the Excellency. Now we have a unified regulator in the making. Qatar is becoming a knowledge society in true reflection of performance. It's an extraordinary country with vision. In terms of political progression, we have seen Darfur or Lebanon or Libya or Syria, extraordinary statesmanship. In terms of social progression, we have seen the healthcare or education or making sure the social progression comes to financial progression as well. That's precisely the reason why Qatar government has announced enough initiatives to see what's happening in the rest of the world is not impacting here. When it comes to economic progression, the exhibition is very much there. For the last 14 consecutive years, we have clear governance. It's running in fiscal surplus, current account surplus, investable surplus. Before I'm being specific on Qatar, let's look at the global market. We are insulated in terms of macroeconomics. We are not isolated from the global crisis. That's what is seen today. In spite of enormous amount of re-regulation in the United States, still US is reeling under pressure. If you look at the current situation, housing market is still recovering. Federal Reserve is thinking of quantitative easing, QE3, printing money, improving the liquidity so that it can chase the rest of the world and improve the stock markets, currency market, commodity market. The dollar is weakening, the rest of the currencies are getting strengthened. Unemployment, non-farm payroll results, which is pronounced last Friday, still indicates 8.1% is unemployment. Purchasing power parity has not improved at all. That's the conception we are seeing. And again, politics and economics have to converge. US election is due on November 6th. Euro is in complete disarray. Fiscal policy is not centralized while monetary policy is centralized. Convergence criteria, which is set in Maastricht Treaty, is not being fully practiced. The gross debt to GDP, and again, deficit financing is impacting the overall alignment so that the financial stability is getting challenged. It's not confined to Greece or Italy or Spain. It's got a huge contagion impact. Countries and continents who have lived beyond their means are paying heavy price. Financial economies are converting as real. Real economies are redefining their scope and performance. We have seen China is slowing down. India, as a functional democracy, is going through extraordinary turbulence as well. Politics and economics, again, is not converging, and you have seen stalemate in terms of parliamentary affairs. We have seen inflation is over 7% and GDP is 5.3 to 5.6%. Stagflation is that reflection we have seen. In the midst, we have the Gulf states where the oil price costing Brent is over $116 per barrel. And again, NewMex WTI is costing around $96. The countries are running in fiscal current account investable surplus. We have a 1.6 trillion, that's the estimate, taking oil at $75 to $85. Qatar has budgeted at $65 for the fiscal year. The current account surplus as a percentage of GDP is going to be huge, not less than 20 to 25%, depending upon the fluctuation in the oil price. When it comes to Qatar specifics, we have seen it has reflected over $200 billion as a GDP. The current account surplus as a percentage of GDP is over 31%. We have population 1.78 million, reflecting the per capita $106,000. Inflation is under control. The monetary policy is governed by the governor. Again, it shows not more than 4%. Meanwhile, we are getting set for the boom. We have seen the financial markets is getting into doldrums, world over. No country is an exception. It's not only economies are converting as real. Financial markets are nothing but gambling grounds. The money supply improved the liquidity, so artificial summations clearly reflecting on capital market upbeat. That's not real. And again, currency market is going through extraordinary turbulence. When you start printing money, the currency gets weakened. And that's what has happened. If you look at ever since last Friday, Ben Bernanke, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Bank of Washington, made the statements. U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman said the statement that he's going to look at optional tools. We have seen the reflection on the currency market. Dollar index is getting weakened. That has got simultaneous reflection on euro or pound or Japanese yen. It is the currency war which triggers the trade war. That's what we have seen. Commodities are all in upbeat. The gold is crossing over $1,735 per ounce. Silver is costing over $33 per ounce. Extraordinary turbulence we are seeing in the financial market. Volatility is reflecting clear opportunity. What does it mean to this country? What does it mean to this region? While we are insulated in terms of macroeconomic fundamentals, we are not isolated from the global financial crisis. That's the bottom line. We have to necessarily recognize Qatar in its vision to set in 2030 as a defined principles: economic development, environment development, social development, and again, human development are all reflecting in Vision 2030 by Zionist and his team. As a part of the challenge being redefined, National Development Strategy was set in 2011 to 16. That clearly shows a very strong macroeconomic fundamentals. We can all draw the conclusion that it's going to run in fiscal surplus, not less than 5.7% on average, aggregate in the next 5 years. We're going to have growth not less than 6.9%. That's also real. We're going to have non-hydrocarbon investments. We're going to see a reflection of not less than 9.1% on non-hydrocarbon. Hydrocarbon is confined to 4.4%. But we have to necessarily realize the risk involved when you turn the market from a standstill perspective to a boom. We have seen the reflection in the past, 2003 to 2007. Some of the re-regulations which are all set in are all lessons we have learned to see that we have financial stability in place. We also have to realize the projects which are sitting over $130 billion are all real. These are all time-bound projects, including 2022. We're going to have huge expansion in terms of port. We are going to have expansion in the utilities. We're going to have expansion in the rails. We are going to have expansion in the road. Total projects of 154 projects laid out by the government costing $114 billion are integral part of the 5-year plan. This is all there. This is all there. In real terms, this has to be tendered, and again, it has to reflect in contract. It has to reflect in the average business model of every single business. That's what the excitement is all about. We are all getting set for the boom. We are all getting set for the realignment of the business model at the same time. We also have to reflect the reality. When you start redefining your business model, we need to measure and manage and control to see we don't wither away the opportunity. While opportunity is real, the risk is also real. That's precisely the reason why we thought it's appropriate to bring in world-class experts from Wells Fargo and other colleagues who are going to join you to showcase not only the opportunity from Qatari perspective, what impact the project space has got in real terms in Qatar, in the region, and what risk identification we need to look at it, what sort of solutions which we need to map it to see these risks are measured and managed and controlled so that we don't wither away the opportunity. We are in a changing phase of the world. We are in a changing phase of the financial service. We are in the safe hands of the governing leadership. Qatar is substance. Qatar is in line with the substantive compliance of the global benchmarks. We are proud to be an integral part of this great nation of substance. And today, we are going to showcase, with the wisdom of my colleagues who are going to join, an important technical sessions for a maximum of 1 hour, followed by question and answers, so that you can partake in the whole frame, followed by dinner. I once again welcome you all for participating in this interesting and exciting session, first of its kind again. Doha Bank always stood by knowledge sharing. We believe in profession. We believe in team leadership. My board and my management team are very much committed. The Governor of Power Excellence of extraordinary caliber is there to grace these occasions. We are once again proud of your presence. Thank you once again for participation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Sitharaman. فلنلقي الضوء على أول متحدث لدينا. I'd like to first call Dr. Sita to come and join us at the panel, please. فلنلقي الضوء على أول متحدث لدينا السيد أريان فاسكويز. هو شخصية اقتصادية متخصصة في الأسواق الناشئة حول العالم لدى مجموعة ويلز فارغو العالمية، ومن أبرز عطاءاته القيام بإجراء العديد من التحاليل المفصلة حول أوضاع الأسواق الاقتصادية السياسية والمالية وأثرها على الأسواق الناشئة، حيث قيم وعالج فيها أوضاع المخاطر في كل بلد من بلدان الأسواق العالمية الناشئة، ويقدم من خلال عمله الدعم للكثير من الكيانات داخل البنك، وعليه يعد المتحدث الرئيسي في العديد من المسائل المتصلة باقتصاد الأسواق الناشئة. We would like to introduce our first speaker for tonight, Mr. Aryan Vasquez. Mr. Aryan is a global emerging marketing economist from Wells Fargo's International Group, conducting in-depth economical, political, and financial market analysis on a principal emerging market in assessing and managing country risk condition across the global markets. Mr. Vasquez worked supporting numerous entities within the bank and those serve as this principal's spokesman on matters related to emerging market economists. He has been holding this position since 2008. Please welcome Mr. Vasquez. تعريفا بمحدثنا الثاني لهذه الندوة السيد أيان سي جولد. هو المدير الفني للإنشاءات في شركة أكسس انترناشونال، وهي شركة دولية لتخمين وتثمين الخسائر. بالإضافة إلى ذلك فهو المدير العام لمكتب أكسس انترناشونال في قطر. وتجدر بالإشارة إلا أنه بخبرة كبيرة في كيفية التعامل مع المتطلبات المتعلقة بالتعويضات عن الخسائر الممتلكات والإنشاءات. Our second speaker tonight is Mr. Ayan Seagold. Mr. Ayan is a technical director at Access International Middle East, an international loss adjustery and survey firm. He is also the general manager of Access International Middle East Qatar office. He has extensive experiences in handling major property and consultancy claims. Please welcome Mr. Ayan Seagold. متحدثنا التالي السيد كارل روبرتس، هو مثمن خسائر رئيسي لدى شركة كينغهام لينزي المحدودة، والتي تعد واحدة من أكبر الشركات في مجال تثمين الخسائر وإدارة المطالبات، علما أنها تعمل بقطر بموجب تصريح صادر من مركز قطر للمال. لقد منحت 3 زمالات في قطر الاتحاد الدولية لجمعيات تثمين الخسائر، معهد مثمن خسائري في جنوب أفريقيا، ومعهد مدراء المخاطر في جنوب أفريقيا. As for our third speaker of the night, Mr. Carl Roberts, he is a senior loss adjuster in Cunningham, Lindsey, one of the largest loss adjustery and claim managing companies in the world. He has been operating in Qatar under the authority of Qatar Financial Center. He has been awarded 3 fellowships within the International Federation of Adjusting Society, Institute of Loss Adjustery of Southern Africa, and Institute of Risk Management in South Africa. Please welcome Mr. Carl Roberts. أخيراً وليس آخراً، السيد أحمد عنان، هو مستشار لدى شركة المحاماة العالمية السادة لاثم and واتكنز التي تملك فرعاً في قطر، ومسجلة بمركز قطر للمال، والمعروف عن امتلاكها خبرة كبيرة اكتسبها من عمله في المناصب التي شغلها سواء كمحامي في مكتب المحاماة الخاص أو في القطاع الحكومي، بالإضافة إلى منصب المستشار الداخلي في العديد من الشركات. ويذكر أنها شغل منصب نائب رئيس منتدى هارفارد الإسلامي القانوني، وحاليا يشغل منصب عضو مجلس الإدارة والمدير المسؤول في جمعية خريجي هارفارد العرب. Last but not least, Ahmed Anani. Mr. Ahmed is a consultant at the Latham and Watkins, a premier global law firm with a branch in Qatar and registered with Qatar Financial Center. Mr. Anani has extensive experiences from working in private practices, government in-house, counsel roles. He was the vice president of the Harvard Islamic Law Firm. He is currently a member and director of the Harvard Arab Ulim Association. Please welcome Mr. Ahmed Anan. والآن سوف نترك المجال للمتحدثين لكي يشاركونا خبراتهم. Now we will give space for our expertise to share with us their knowledge. Please, Dr. Sita, you may start this panel.
So, this is the panel. Well-established, very recognized institutions are responding to challenges, and I put them together for you to listen. Let me start straight away with Aryam, who is the Vice President of Emerging Market Global Economics. In clear terms, he has come from Wells Fargo all the way from New York. Let me have the pleasure of listening to you.
Thank you very much for the kind words, and a very good evening to all. It's certainly a pleasure and an honor to be here in this beautiful city today. And I want to thank my colleagues at Doha Bank for the kind invitation. I'm humbled to be here. I know we are kind of limited for time, so what I want to do is offer a brief overview of how we, at least in the Wells Fargo world, sitting in New York, which is very far from the realities of this region, excuse me, sitting, all right. Anyhow, I want to offer you a brief perspective of how we see the development of the GCC economy, and particularly in light of the infrastructure development program that has been in place for so many years here in this region. So what I want to do is briefly touch on the main and most salient long-term implications for the region, then touch on some short-term impacts that we see, and then briefly summarize it with some challenges and risks and concerns that should be warranted and should be taken in light of this ongoing development boom that we're here seeing in this area of the world. So obviously, when I was first approached with the topic of this discussion, I immediately came to my mind that this is a very poignant and very peculiar topic. And I say poignant because, as you could evidence by this chart, this is a region where nominal GDP growth has been growing steadily for the past couple of years. More importantly, it's a region endowed with tremendous resource wealth. But clearly, more importantly than that, is the fact that this resource wealth